Hey, what's up? I'm here with Tim from Rise Against. Tim, how you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, nice to meet you, man. My name's Mike.
Mike,
First time I've ever interviewed you, so I'm kind of excited about that.
Cool, man. Good. Thanks.
Okay, so we're at Edgefest. I guess, right off the bat, why did you decide to do Edgefest? I mean, you guys have had a relationship with the Edge for a bit now, eh?
Right, yeah. It was kind of a no-brainer, certainly with how much the Edge has given us so much love over the years. Toronto as well has given us so much love over the years, Canada in general. We came out here like 2 years ago. We weren't playing, but we were doing the video awards downtown. And it was the same day as Edgefest, so we like popped over to say hello to like the AFI guys and Billy Talent. And that was when I got to see like just how huge the show is. And it was that day it was rainy and muddy, but it looked like a lot of fun. And I kept thinking we need to come back here and do this thing.
I mean, is it a trip for you? You're doing these big shows, considering where you guys came from. Small punk band from Chicago.
Totally. I mean, yeah, it's a huge trip, especially playing over the bands that have dominated the airwaves and throughout much of Rise Against career, bands like A Perfect Circle that are playing here today. And so it's really, we always thought it was just sort of exciting to be a part of these fests, but I never really thought that our name would move up the marquee and be the main draw. And to this day, I'm sort of in denial, you know what I mean? Because like trying to wrap your head around that sort of, I think you would just be crushed from the pressure of headlining one of these things. So in my mind, we're always like, there's always a band after us.
Well, I mean, what did you guys do? Like, to take it from being a club band to like a straight up huge band that can rock like whatever thousands of people?
I don't think we did anything. I think we just found an audience that allows a band like us to just be a band. You know what I mean? Like I think we found an audience that sort of recognized that we were just kind of a t-shirt and jeans rock and punk band, and like that had no frills and no gimmicks, and none of us are dating a celebrity to get press, you know what I mean? And I think we eventually found fans that appreciated that, and so they gravitated towards what we were doing. And I love that because it's been fun to be a band and just concentrate on the music and the message and not all of the superficial parts of music. And I think it's a huge testament to how there are still music fans out there that just want to hear, unfettered rock. Because if we can headline a fest like this, then, anybody can.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned a message. I can't not bring it up talking to, Rise Against. This album, Make It Stop, I guess. People are really feeling that track in the video. Why'd you guys decide to address homophobia?
I think it was something that, it was like sort of a trifecta of reasons. One, I'll try to do it as fast as I can. One was like a fan approaching us and saying, "You're my favorite band, and I've not tried to tell you this, but I'm gay, and I'm not sure how you feel about that." Oh, really? And it was like, wow, like a fan that would think that we would condemn her for her lifestyle, And I was like, that's so sad to me that there would be any Rise Against fan out there afraid to tell us who they are, because Rise Against wants to include everybody, So that was on my mind going into the record. And then as I got to thinking about that, I was thinking where she got that idea, and then I realized, well, Rise Against gets lumped into this like testosterone-driven, male-dominated rock scene, which is a place that, unaddressed, it can really sort of harbor and tend to perpetuate homophobia. Yeah. You just got a lot of people out there who like sort of, who might not know like that this is a place where everyone should be accepted, That. And I think that after the wave of gay teen suicides in September, that was something that I realized that gave me the catalyst for the song. I don't want to try to include all those ideas, but so there's a number of things just hitting me from these different sides that I was like, I need to create a song that addresses this. And I'm really glad that it's sort of gathered speed and snowballed and people are embracing it.
Cool. I love the video. It's actually a really powerful video. I think you guys did a really good job of it.
Thank you. I think the rock scene is a place where, there is a fire and we can put we're in a place to put water in that fire.
Endgame, Megadeth released Endgame as well. Has Dave Mustaine attacked you guys yet?
Not yet. Okay. And I love Megadeth. And then,
I wanted to ask you guys if you guys are metalheads as well.
Oh yeah, we're huge metalheads. It's one of the things that we all kind of share.
I mean, State of the Union
is metalheads. I think it hit me way late in the record process that they also had a record called Endgame, but at that point I felt like our record has nothing to do with that record. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I remember dealing with this years ago. We released a record called Revolutions Per Minute.
Yeah.
And years later,
it's a heavy album for a lot of people, man.
Thank you, man. And years later, Skid Row reformed without Sebastian Bach, and released a record called Revolutions Per Minute.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Right, totally. And I saw it, and everyone's like, "Oh, are you really bummed?" And I'm like, you know what? Like, I have nothing in common with the reformed Skid Row.
Yeah. Or Sebastian Bach. Well, I mean, he's not.
So I feel like we're in two different worlds, so it really didn't bother me. I was like, whatever, you know. And that's kind of, as much as we don't have anything in common with Skid Row, I don't think that we have a lot in common with like the Megadeth's last record either. So I felt like our record is its own sort of entity.
What was it like working with Mr. Matt Skiba?
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah. I mean, I've known Matt for years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was a kid in his audience, you know.
Cokie the Clown, you're in there.
Yeah. I am in there. Yeah. Getting assaulted pretty much. Fat Mike.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta love him. You know what I mean? Like, you never know what to expect when you're around him. So, and Mike is like a father figure for this band. He was the first person to really give us a shot.
I mean, Fat Wreck and Epitaph, those were, you know, growing up for me, two of those records, right?
Fat Wreck
or labels.
Fat Wreck is why we're here. Like, you know, there's
why a lot of bands are here.
Totally, there's no bones about it. Like, he gave us a chance before anybody gave us a chance, and becoming a part of that Fat family is where we were introduced to the world, like opening up for Strung Out and the Mad Caddies and Sick of It All.
Well, you just did a split with Face to Face.
Yeah, Face to Face, yeah, which is I grew up listening to Face to Face. You know, I loved that band, and so given the opportunity to cover one of their songs and hearing one of my favorite bands cover one of our songs, like that's a trip, you know?
Yeah.
And I was just on stage with them in LA a few weeks ago, and I got to sing Blind with them. And that's kind of,
cool.
It's very full circle, you know, for me, for like a 15-year-old kid to like, you know, a 30-year-old kid out there, like, you know, singing along.
Tell me a cool Anti-Flag or Strike Anywhere story.
Oh my God. Oh. There's probably a lot. I can't think of any off the top of my head.
You guys did that tour, wasn't there? The Rise Against Strike Anywhere, Anti-Flag.
Yeah, with Anti-Flag. We took them to the UK.
You ever play hockey with those dudes? Anti-Flag? They play hockey. Chris plays hockey.
Number 2 is a big hockey player. And I remember doing a tour across Canada. And he brought his hockey gear with him, and he would hit some of the rinks before the shows, and actually and be playing hockey. And Strike Anywhere.
He's good too.
Yeah, that's what I hear. And he's got a great new band called the White Wives.
Yes, they're great as well. They do the Pixies cover.
Yeah. They have a very ungoogleable band name. Don't try to Google it around your parents or anything like that. It's gonna get weird. Yeah.
Thanks, Chris number 2, for naming your band that, I guess.
Right.
I guess one question I wanted to ask you is what you're listening to these days. Yeah, you know, like what's on the iPod?
The band on your T-shirt for sure.
Oh well, let me.
Supporting cast, love it.
The Blasting Room.
Yeah, right.
Talk about working there, and because everybody that I've talked to that's recorded albums there, and I mean, you guys seem to be very comfortable there. I mean, what is it about the Blasting Room in Colorado? Is it Bill? Is it like, you know, I've never been there, so I don't know, but everybody loves to record albums there.
It's everything, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, well, we hooked up with Bill for Revolutions Per Minute. We met like our producer's soulmate, you know what I mean? We met the guy who was meant to do Rise Against Records, you know what I mean? It's just, they have a really serious work ethic. They're disciplined. They're unpretentious. The Blasting Room is essentially half of a furniture warehouse. That's where we do all of our records, you know what I mean? In a very unpretentious town north of Denver, real low key. And he gets it, not just the music, you know what I mean, but also the message, you know what I mean? He's one of the few guys I really trust with like critiquing my lyrics, you know what I mean? And he's also, he's also just a hero, you know what I mean? And like, he's a songwriter, he's a producer, he's a drummer, he's a guitar player, he's a musician, he's a brilliant guy, he's a thinker, you know what I mean? He's just a good soul, and him and Jason Livermore too. Jason Livermore is just as much behind our music, and that whole studio is like, you know, I think if Rise Against were a job, the Blasting Room is the office we go to get the shit done.
Cool.
Yeah.
You know what? A lot of people have said that about it. I mean, there is sort of this work ethic that comes with it. You know, I was talking to Mike from the Street Dogs, and he was saying that it was just, you know, no one was missing, no one went to the bar. You know, you get there and you just want to record. You
totally,
know?
Yeah. They're serious. I mean, they're more serious about it than we are. Like when we want to go to the bar and just like fuck off, they're like, no, we're doing this now. Like, well, wait, really? You know what I mean? But he's Bill Stevenson, so he can command that sort of respect. Like, I live to impress Bill. You know what I mean? Partly because he's one of my best friends, and partly because he's a hero of mine who pioneered some of pop punk we hear today and some of the greatest songwriting of today. And so
the bar a little bit.
Right. I never want to let him down, and I can't think of a producer out there that I would feel that way about, you know what I mean? I think the producer world, especially at our level, is full of a lot of egos, a lot of hot shots, a lot of guys who are just a name because of some fancy record they did 10 years ago and no longer have the snuff to really create a good record these days, and or you know, give the record off to their minions to record it and then just slap their name on it, and their name is just a brand name. It's like, oh, my record was produced by this guy, so it must be a big deal. And Bill and those guys are just not like that, you know. Like they'll do a Rise Against record, which will hit like #1 on the Billboard in Canada, but then the next week they'll be doing the local band from down the street. You know what I mean? And like, it just keeps them, you know, into it and hungry, and I don't know, they were just rad.
My last question would be, and I've always wondered this about you, and I've never interviewed you before. So, where you are now in your career, I wondered, how do you deal with being constantly under the microscope? Because we know that like punk rock can be pretty, people have their rules, and it's supposed to be about doing what you want, but at the same time, people are like, well, you can't do this, you can't do that, and you can't do this.
It's interesting. I think that I've sort of, I have.
You guys seem to be able to walk that line, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I have a deep respect for everything that punk rock is, and I have a serious reverence for it, and so I respect it, but I also do it my own way. You know what I mean? Like I trust my own decisions enough where there's nothing you can really tell me. You know what I mean? Like I'll certainly take advice or whatever, or guidance, or I'll take critique into consideration, but there's something about our gut instincts have been honed pretty well over these last 10 years. We've been through a lot. And so in the end, I really trust what we do, and I can put my head on my pillow at night being comfortable with who we are as a band. And I feel like we've made a lot of important decisions, and some that are completely behind or under the radar and like behind the curtain that people don't ever even see. Shows we don't play.
Well, it's just how you live your life, right, really, yeah. Right? Yeah.
Like sponsorships we don't take a part in, offers that we turn down, This band has been I think one of the secrets to what Rise Against is that we've said no to way more things we've ever said yes to. You know what I mean? And it sounds like a failed business model. You know what I mean? But the fact is that we've turned down more opportunities than we've said yes to. And I think that it's always a roll of the dice, and you're wondering, will this offer us more exposure if we do this? But what are we comfortable with, and that kind of thing. And I think that we still get critiqued, but I'm happy that we have fans that care to critique us. You know what I mean? Like, I'm happy that we don't actually have fans that are just kind of sheep, like, oh yeah, that's cool, whatever. You know what I mean? Because at that point, it's like, oh, Rise Against are on Nike Records now, and they did a commercial for like Chevy, whatever. I'm glad we don't have those fans. I'm glad we have fans that hold us to a higher standard.
That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, you guys have also managed to get the message out there to so many kids.
Yeah, that's been really awesome, because I think that I have taken for granted like the punk and hardcore scene that I grew up in, that there were so many people to teach me all the different things that punk has to offer, and so I don't know if there's that many of those bands are still around anymore. Yeah. And so I'm happy to be a band that can touch the lives of a lot of people and hopefully pass that torch, on to the next generation, and show them that you can sing your heart out, you can talk about your passions, you can talk about politics, you can take sides, you can not be neutral, you can talk about things that could potentially be radical or controversial, and you can say no to opportunities, and you can still be headlining something like the Edgefest. It's possible. You don't need to wear makeup and date Paris Hilton and have a bunch of gimmicks. You can do what you do just straightforward, and it could still, if it's what you're after, it can still be successful, but at the very least, there's still an audience for it.
Yeah. Up the punks, man. Keep doing it.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too, man. Yeah, for sure.
Explore Music wears English Laundry apparel.